Namaskar, welcome to Sansad TV. We are discussing a very special program on defense budget, capability and integration for Indian Armed Forces. This is your host Manish Kumar. The government of India has announced defense budget of rupees 6.81 trillion for 2025-26, which is roughly about in USD $78.4 billion. The MOD, Ministry of Defense, said the new budget represents about 13.5% of the total annual government expenditure and an increase of 9.5% over the defense budget for 2024 and 25. The capital budget, which is about modernization, and in detail, it is about procuring new fighter jets, drones, artillery, guns, tanks, and helicopters, remains at 1.8 lakh crore. The Prime Minister has laid out his vision for not only self-reliance in military technology, but also achieving scale in critical and advanced technology for India by 2047. So critical to discuss on such a matter of importance. We have such a distinguished military experts in the studio from IDS, which is known as Integrated Defence Staff, an apex tri-service organization to fulfill the vital objective towards India, towards national security architecture, with a mandate for multiple initiatives aimed at furthering the integration and jointness among the services, force structuring and capability development, technology management, consolidating defense intelligence, promoting military diplomacy, and enhancing joint training of the three services. Here we have a very special guest today. Let me introduce Vice Admiral Sanjay Vatsayan, Deputy Chief of Integrated Defence Staff, PP&FD. He has been at the frontier of perspective planning, commanding all the three forces at HQ IDS. Let me also introduce you Lieutenant General Vipul Shinghal, Deputy Chief of Integrated Staff DOT, which is Doctrine, Operation and Training and Headquarter IDS. I welcome you, General.
Thank you.
And to begin with you, this is the year of reforms. As Defence has also, Ministry of Defence has prioritizes, Army has also called this year of defence reform. Raksha Mantri has specially declared 2024 as a year of reforms. Let me again repeat that. Promoting jointness and integration. What are the focus areas for enhancing jointness and integration in the armed forces, and how are we going about it? To begin with Lieutenant General Vipul Shinghal, sir.
Yeah. Good evening, Manish. Thank you very much for firstly inviting us here and on this important subject. The declaration of the 2025 as a year of reforms for the MOD is in itself a path-breaking initiative. It is an initiative to foster jointness and integration, to keep the armed forces future ready, increase combat effectiveness, and a host of other reforms which are on the anvil. Coming specifically to jointness and integration, in fact, the organization we belong to, the headquarter IDS, the very motto is victory through jointness. Jointness in itself is a cognitive process. It's in the domain of cognitive domain. It talks about building trust, camaraderie, and interoperability between the three services. This is achieved by a number of initiatives which we have taken, be it cross postings, joint training, and so on. In fact, jointness as a concept has been, an old concept in the Indian Armed Forces, and the National Defence Academy itself was a joint academy. Way back it was created, and that's where it starts. So the second process is integration. Integration is a more physical process. It is the actual process of having processes and systems in place which allow us to operate together. It could be communications, a single communication network, a single LAN network, single air defense architecture. So those are the initiatives that we are working on, and about 8 domains have been specifically selected where integration will take place: intelligence, operations, training, logistics, administration, and so on. And in this regard, almost about 190 plus initiatives have been initiated in various departments, and we are well on the way to increase the amount of jointness and integration in line with the Honorable RM's directive for the year of reforms. And this is going to, of course, lead to subsequently joint integrated structures as well.
Well explained, General Shinghal, but add to further, keeping the defense budget in the mind, how does defense budget synchronize in terms of technology integration? Could you focus on that?
Yeah, for sure. The defense budget, it is my honorable colleague here will be able to give you a better perspective on that he deals with it by having integrated the capability development and a central place at headquarter IDS, we are ensuring that whatever technology we want to absorb in the defense forces is absorbed together. And by having a greater scale, a better synergy, we pick up technology, pick up capability, which is in sync with all three services. This not only optimizes and ensures better training, interoperability, but also is better for spending money and effort.
That's right. Back to Vice Admiral Sanjay Vatsayan, and let me tell you and introduce you further. He has been at the forefront of military capability and prospecting plan, a man of hour here to tell us very critical understanding about how do you see defense budget in the last 3 to 4 years. Is it adequate to meet the capability roadmap of the forces? When you see all the three combining forces, you have also been seeing for this decade, we have been focusing a lot of self-reliance, Atmanirbharta, striving to achieve and build equipment system platform within our country. Do you think the budget is sufficient, or and what should be done, and how do you look at the defense budget, particularly this year?
Thank you, Manish. And as you brought out right in the beginning of your introductory remarks, that the budget as far as the armed forces is concerned has gone up by about 9.5% to about 6.8 lakh crores, which is about 13.5% of the central government expenditure. Still the largest expenditure other than the interest.
Highest allocation in any other
absolutely.
sector. Yes.
It's been highest, and it has been growing steadily over the last 4 to 5 years, and the growth has been commensurate to whatever the demands have been projected by the service headquarters. Having said that, when we look at just the defense services estimate, that is grant number 20 and 21, that is capital and revenue, that also has gone up from about 6.56 lakh crores to about 6.91 lakh crores, an increase of about almost 6.5%, 7.5%. And coming on to the capital budget specifically, that has gone up from 1,72,000 crores to 1,80,000 crores, which is as has been projected by the service headquarters. Now, the capital budget, to put it in a very layman terms, when we project it to the government, it is based on two very simple factors. One is what are your committed liabilities that are likely to outgo in the next financial year. That means your existing contracts, the way they have progressed, how much of money is envisaged to go as far as your committed liabilities are concerned on existing contracts, and how many contracts are you likely to sign as new schemes, out of which certain percentage of money is given the moment you sign a contract or within a stipulated period. So when we combine the two, that is what we project to the Ministry of Finance through the MOD.
Fiscal year we talking
absolutely about, in the fiscal year, and that is our projection, and we have been getting the budget that we wanted. So this time also it has gone up from 1.72 lakh crores to 1.8 lakh crores, which is about an increase of about 4.5% overall. And it is sufficient as far as we are concerned to ensure that the capabilities that we are envisaging in the next few years is on track.
Very interesting. I just would like to understand a little more about that. Of course, there are different R&D budget for the DRDO.
Yes.
But within this capital budget, do you also include the budget for R&D, say for example, War Bureau Design and Army Design, IDB, which I'm talking about. Do you also include the budget into that?
So there is a separate budget for R&D, and the Government of India has directed that the DRDO, which holds the R&D budget, will keep 25% of that R&D budget for private players, for them to invest and get us outputs. But as far as ADB, VESI and the Air Force institutions that have been set up for R&D efforts to assist
for example,
our private vendors,
talking about.
There also there are certain provisions that have been given to us under delegated powers where we can invest a certain amount of money in R&D projects also.
Great explanation. And back to Lieutenant General Singhal. It is very important and pertinent question that we're all talking about. The way warfare is changing worldwide, and it's a large, complex geography, environment, and also geopolitical situation that India is facing. In your current appointment, in fact, you are responsible for the formulation of joint doctrine, which we're talking about. And what are those doctrines, and how are they aligned with the nature of conflict today? And mostly now we see the conflict worldwide. We have seen in Russia, we have seen in Syria. It's more of a hybrid, asymmetrical, what we call a limited war, which is going on. However, Army does have, and our services do have certain past, for example, counter-insurgency, which has given such direction, but could you define it? What is the doctrine we are progressing?
Yeah, so definitely the D in my appointment of DOT stands for doctrine. And doctrine is actually the conceptual guidance which is provided to the armed forces to guide them both in peace and war for capability development and also in actually executing operations. And so we are in the process of reviewing older doctrines and also in the process of formulating new doctrines. We already have doctrines of land warfare, air warfare, maritime warfare. We are in the process now of making a doctrine for integrated employment of the armed forces. We have very recently released doctrines on amphibious warfare as also on cyber warfare, which are new domains, cyber especially. And we are on track to produce very soon a doctrine of space warfare as well. So we are, and when we are this making of the doctrine is an iterative process. The doctrine development process looks into the threat, the capability, our national security objectives, what are the lessons being learned from conflicts around the world, and using this produces the doctrine. Thereafter, this is sent to the stakeholders, they give their comments and academia, and then we iterate and then finally produce a doctrine which is reviewed every 4 to 5 years. Seeing the current conflicts, but saying that the conflicts are limited may not be entirely correct, because what we see in Russia, Ukraine is not really a limited conflict, it's a full-scale conflict. And so keeping those things in mind, we are formulating those doctrines which are incorporating both the lessons learned as also the technology, whether it be AI, quantum, cyber, drones, so that these are incorporated into the doctrine, and thereafter we can build capability for it, which is being done in the IDS, and we also modify our techniques and procedures to absorb this technology. So that is the process that we are going through, and it's a continuous process of making a number of doctrines. Some are in the open domain, some remain classified.
I do agree, and let me also remind viewers about the way the IDS has come up with the cyber and the space doctrine, which you have not only conceptualized but also implemented in a short time, and it's a new edition which will formulate under the entire one doctrine which we're looking forward to. And if I put it same to the on the capability perspective aspect, to Admiral Vatsayan, how do you integrate the capabilities of the three services to ensure synergy of effort, optimization of resources, and jointness in the conduct of operation? I'm sure it's a complex exercise to do, and especially to put that in a short time frame. But if I would like to hear from you on this.
Absolutely, yes, a very pertinent question, and I'll pick up from where General Shinghal, briefed just now and spoke about it. To ensure that we have jointness and integration, there are probably three levels as far as the way I see it. The first one is to think together, think in an integrated manner, in a joint manner, and that starts with your doctrine, your strategy, and your training. So you have to get, that is the fundamental of getting into a joint or an integrated mechanism of fighting a warfare in the modern context. The second one is, how do you facilitate that? Once you have a doctrine in place, you have to have your structures in place, and the most important in the foundational structure is the communication systems. And you need to have networks which are common to all the three services, so that we can exchange our data, both voice, communication, and in any which form, so that we are seamlessly integrated, rather than me having three different phones. If I have to speak to the Navy, Army, and the Air Force, I cannot have three different telephones on my desk. And the third one is how to act joint. So act, of course, is then putting where the power comes, and we have to ensure that a joint application of power, so that we achieve the desired results. Now, towards that, HQIDS has been on this job for the last 15 to 20 years, and probably the most important achievement of the Integrated Defence Staff has been formulation of the long-term integrated perspective plan, the latest version, which was promulgated in 2012 till 27, a 15-year plan, based on which we are carrying out our inductions. This caters for all the capabilities that the services are seeking, with respect to ensuring that our capability voids are filled, as well as what future capabilities we are looking at. And we in HQIDS ensure that there is a synergy of effort with respect to induction, so that we are not inducting different types of capabilities, and all the systems can talk to each other. That's very important. Recently, we have taken up an initiative wherein the LTIPP will be converted into ICDP, Integrated Capability Development Plan, which will be for 10 years. We hope to take it out by end of this year, which will be then valid from 2025 to 2035. So that's how we synergize the efforts towards joint capability and
I'll continue deliberating, but we have something more important, which I take a cue from General Lieutenant General Shinghal, and which I also often understand that largely the early training of the forces is done in specific service-oriented war academy institutions. You know, earlier we had a NDA, which was, but if you see Chennai OT, which is largely focused on a specific service domain. What is being done to promote joint training and having greater foundational synergy in training among three services, if we want to achieve towards the jointness in the real sense, to General Shinghal?
So good, that's a good point. And like I said, the D is for doctrine, the T is for training, right, in my appointment. And yes, so firstly, though the main training of Army, Navy, Air Force takes place in single service academies, but the foundation for a bulk of the officers does happen in NDA, which is a tri-service academy. Now, so joint training becomes very important when we want to plan together and fight together. And therefore, we are looking at it as a 2 or 3 step process. Firstly is that wherever we are operating common systems and wherever training can be common, those are being now done in something called Joint Service Training Institutes, that is JSTIs. Now, examples are cyber, intelligence, right, small arms, helicopters. So all these aspects, all the 3 services operate them, use them, and also need to learn about them. So these have been made amalgamated into single institutes. For example, the intelligence school in Pune now runs intelligence courses for all 3 services. The Naval Air Force have stopped doing it individually.
So very early stage, all officers will be able to join and learn the foundation together.
Absolutely. And so this is one part. And this not only does it give us joint training, it also optimizes resources. The second aspect is that wherever we have existing courses, we have increased the joint content of those courses. Okay. That means the syllabus in those courses is now having more joint subjects. Very recently in Staff College, we now have a joint division. It's a pilot project, we'll do more of it. All study the same subjects together. And they will be the officers who will now come into joint or tri-service organizations. So that is the second process. Third thing is that most exercises, seminars, war games, which were single service, are being joint also. So that in these 2-3 ways, we are ensuring that maximum officers and even men during their training go through joint training, and everybody when it comes to a certain level has gone through some joint training either in a JSTI or has gone through joint content in our Army War Colleges, Staff College, College of Defence Management and so on. So that's the process.
So if I just quickly ask Vice Admiral, so is it about, say for example, Navy has a warship and of course Air Force has a fighter jet and Army has a tank and artillery. So in terms of the jointness, they should be familiar with each other equipment from the start. Is that a concept of joint integration in terms of technology we are talking about?
Yes, absolutely. The technology that we are going to use in these systems and the equipment that we're going to see is, while they are specific to a particular service, I mean, what is going to be used in a tank may not be able to be, fitted on board a ship, but definitely the communication systems, the methodology, how to exchange information, knowledge, ability to transfer your target data, let's say from an Air Force aircraft to a naval ship or a naval ship to an Air Force aircraft for the aircraft to carry out targeting at sea, and so on and so forth. That is something that we have to ensure that we are integrated from day one, and the concepts of warfare of what is happening on land, what is happening in air and what is happening at sea, and now in cyber and space. So the younger generation or the officers today have to be able to fight in a multi-domain operational scenario wherein each and every domain is interlinked and synergized so that we can bring maximum effect against the enemy.
And then expand on that.
Yes.
You bring a point that the operation of aircraft, tank, artillery, ships is different, which is very correct. So, jointness does not mean that I should know how to operate a ship or he should know how to operate a tank. But yes, it means that I must know what is the capability of a ship, what is the capability of aircraft, right, and how will it affect all types of warfare. So, when I am in a particular place, I should know that what is the capability, what is the limitation, so they can be best optimally employed. But actual operation of that will be done by the single service, by officers of that caliber.
And then back to quickly, since we are talking about the defense budget, and of course it's $78.5 billion, we are amongst the largest defense budget in the world, perhaps the third or fourth in terms of data. And the government has massively pushed towards Atmanirbharta, self-reliance, released a lot of import embargo in the series of prohibited list, what we call. How do you look at the government focus on Atmanirbharta in last few years? What have we achieved?
There was a phenomenal focus by the government of India in the last few years, almost 7 to 8 years, and we are seeing the results of it now. And it starts from the policy itself. The policy that have been formulated. If you see the DPP itself, the erstwhile DPP has undergone revision, and now it's DAP 2020. The DPP itself in the previous avatar had gone about 8 or 9 iterations, and now the DAP also bought in, and there was more focus on indigenization. There were new categories that were introduced where the focus was and priority was given to items that were going to be made in India. Similarly, there were also new categories that were introduced, like Make 3 has been introduced, Make 2 has been re-evaluated, Make 1 has been re-evaluated. Then the government promulgated a positive indigenization list wherein 509 items were identified from the 3 services, wherein it was said that we will not import them and we will produce them. And we have done a lot of work, almost 130 to 140 cases have already progressed, and we foresee in the next 10 years at least business of 10 lakh crore rupees coming onto the Indian vendors. Similarly, the government has also given a policy directive that 75% of the capital budget will be used for Indian vendors, will be given to Indian vendors. So you can imagine, and this we have achieved. Last to last it was 64%, last year 68%, and this year we're going to touch 75%. Now if you take 75% of the modernization budget of inductions, it is almost 1.1 lakh crores, right. 1.2 lakh crores. And if you take a year-on-year growth of, let's say, even a conservative 7 to 8%, over the next 5 to 7 years, the Indian industry has got a business of at least 8 lakh crores. This is only capital. If I take revenue for sustain and maintenance, another 6 to 8 lakh crores is going to come from there. So there's a phenomenal focus from the government of India to ensure, Indianization. In addition, we have got defense industrial corridors, the 2 of them which have been opened. We are proposing some more. Hopefully that should come through very soon. And also there is a focus on IDEX, which you would have heard about it. So there's IDEX, wherein the government is giving 1.5 crores right. towards our smaller MSMEs and startups. For IDEX, then IDEX Prime is 10 crores, and there's a Aditi scheme which has recently been introduced last year, wherein we are giving 25 crores upfront. 542 cases have already been taken up, and we have already concluded 31 contracts. Another 150 odd should be concluded within a year or so. So there's a lot of focus on that, and I'll give you some figures. The result.
Yes.
The result is that we did an analysis from 2020-21 to 23-24. 161 contracts were concluded worth about 3.1 lakh crores. Out of that, 92% by value went to Indian vendors, only 8% abroad. Secondly, out of the 137 contracts concluded by with Indian vendors, 55 were with private vendors, and 22 of them were MSMEs. And the percentage of expenditure has gone up from 3% by value to 35% to Indian private vendors. So the results are now showing you do policy and you promulgate, and now we have implemented it. So that's another, I think the facts speak for themselves as far as Indianization is concerned. And there is more and more focus now. The service headquarters have also institutionalized mechanisms wherein structures have been created, both top down and bottom up. We are reaching out to the industry, we are reaching out to the MSMEs, we are reaching out to startups, and the kind of response that we have got is phenomenal. I interact with a large number of startups and MSMEs, and I am very convinced, and I keep telling them that as far as we are concerned, and we keep talking of IPR, the intellectual property is today in India. It's only the rights that are going out to foreign countries because the foreign OEMs are kind of exploiting our intellectual property, right. That's where with our youngsters, and taking the solutions away from here. So if we are able to tap this huge intellectual property that is there with us, there is no reason why we will not be Atmanirbhar in a large number of areas in the near future.
It's a great word, and it's great to have faith in our ability to do great things. Only we can achieve, and it's remarkable. We are on track, and of course we'll come back what is also required to do. But I'm again very curious about the doctrine, because we never had such a consolidated 3 services doctrine. And back to Lieutenant General, you did explain about the service-specific technology that we need to understand each other capability. But I also like to understand how do we incorporate the ongoing conflicts, the Russia-Ukraine war? How do we incorporate this technology we're talking about, artificial intelligence, machine learning, autonomous drones? Are these things a part of the doctrine? Do we mention that in the way direction we are going to general?
Absolutely. So, the process of adopting or taking technology into the armed forces is a three-step process. The first process is identification of technology that we want. It is not necessary to run after every technology. It may not be relevant to the Indian context. So we identify the technology we want: AI, quantum, cyber, drones, and so on. Thereafter, we absorb the technology. Absorbing means we have to certainly buy the technology or produce the technology and produce weapons or systems that use the technology, and then train our people in using that technology.
Right.
Iterate, get feedback, and then stabilize it. Thereafter, the third process is actually adopting the technology. Adopting means that now you start incorporating that technology and those weapons using the technology into your actual tactics, techniques, and procedures, so that they change the way you work or they amend the way you work to make you more operationally effective. So this process is very much on. All services have got very focused areas where they're looking at how to absorb them, and that is being incorporated in the doctrine. Your second part of the question about lessons learned from conflicts and how we are incorporating them into our future concepts is also absolutely being done. And there are centers for lessons learned in all services. There are constantly seminars, workshops, and so on, where we have learned what the lessons are. The lessons are largely in terms of how disruptive technology can be, how transparent the battlefield has become. And another lesson we have learned is that both legacy systems and new systems are going to continue hand in hand. The tank as well as the drone will work together. The tank has to adapt itself to the new technology, both to adopt it and to safeguard itself. It will not go away.
Right.
And similarly for ships and aircraft. So that is the lesson we have learned, and that is how we are doing capability development, training, and adoption of the technology. And that is the process.
But at the same time, now it's very important to also talk about the challenges. As Prime Minister has said, it is not about achieving just self-reliance, but achieving self-reliance in some of the advanced technology which India does not have, and we need to talk about that. And I begin asking, and of course, you come from Navy as a forefront of technological innovation, and among, in fact, all services are there, but we often quote Navy for the INS Vikrant is in pipeline. You have hypersonic from the land forces, you have Tejas from the air forces. But then, see, some of the technology we're talking about, jet engine, propulsion system, we're talking about mail and H level of drones and materials. How are we going to achieve that? Do you include all these challenges in your plan and perspective plan, Admiral? Could you talk about?
Absolutely, as you rightly
and the roadmap.
Yes, and therefore the long-term integrated perspective plan and the ICDP does look at all the emerging technologies that is evolving or has already been used in the ongoing conflicts, whether it is in the Gulf or in the Gaza or in Ukraine, Russia. And as the journal brought out, that we are examining each and every one of them, and we have also realized that the entire nature of warfare today has changed because of the issues that were just amplified by General Shinghal. And what has happened is that the couple of things that have become very clear, that the days of a short and swift war probably may not be there anymore. The second one is, of course, that there's going to be a huge disruption in your supply chains, and therefore, if there is a short and swift war, if there is no short and swift war and there are disruptions in your supply chain, you have to sustain your own war fighting by yourself. And therefore, it is extremely important that you become Atmanirbhar in all the modern technologies that you intend to fight the war with. And tomorrow's warfare is going to be, or today's warfare is already a multi-domain operation wherein you are looking from space to cyber to air to land, surface, underwater. All of them had to be synchronized and synergized. And therefore, all the modern technologies, whether they are AI, automation, human engineering, space, cyber, the works, materials, nano, every aspect is being looked at today, and we are reaching out to the industry, we are reaching out to our startups, we are reaching out to the MSMEs with specific tasking, with specific challenges that we are giving them, so that we can get the answers in-house within us. So yes, there are certain challenges with respect to materials, there are certain challenges with respect to certain strategic.
For example, propulsion system, if you're talking about marine specific, how far we have progressed? So
if you are looking at systems or propulsion systems and all that, that is still a way to go. But the Navy has taken up a case under Make 1, wherein we are funding in a 6 megawatt engine, which should be able to provide power to a medium-sized ship, maybe a OPV as of now. Once we do that, we can always scale it up, but we have kept it at level wherein a fairly large ship of about 1,000, 1,500 to up to 2,000 tons could be powered with that. So in that, the government of India is giving a large chunk of money, up to 70% is being given, and we have got 2 vendors who are participating in that. Hopefully we will have some results in next 3 years is what we are anticipating, and once the building block is there, thereafter then it can always be scaled up. As far as aero engines are concerned, you are aware of the issues that we have, challenges that we have faced, but I can assure you that we all are working very, very hard towards ensuring that we become Atmanirbharta in these critical areas.
And for example, if I just put it to General Shinghal about, say, for the land forces perspective, are there progress in the small arms in India in terms of indigenization? If you could just throw light quickly.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, the AK factory has come up in Amethi, and it is very much on track to produce our own small arms. They were already being produced in various ordnance factories also. And definitely we are looking at self-reliance in these, the 5.56 caliber ammunition, weapon system, as also the 7.62, and the ammunition is also being produced in India, and we are very much on track not only to have these small arms being supplied to the armed forces, but also looking at paramilitary and others. We have a very large pool of people who require small arms, and there is no reason why we shouldn't be self-reliant in this system, which is not such a high technology system.
Thank you. Thanks for the great insight. We discussed a wide range of issues. We discussed the doctrine from operation to training and the capability of the Indian Armed Forces and how we are achieving to our self-reliance and the challenges to achieve higher advanced and critical technology. I thank Vice Admiral Sanjay Vatsayan for coming here, Deputy Chief of Integrated Defence Staff, PP&FD, and Lieutenant General Vipul Singhal, Deputy Chief of Integrated Defence Staff. Thank you very much, sir, for coming. Sansad TV. This is Manish Kumar signing off. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Manish.
Thank you, Manish.
Especially for today. Jai Hind.
Thank you.
To watch more programs of Sansad TV, subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to like and share them.